So, where do these things go? And how can you make money? Well, the simple thing is you can almost treat these as a little parking meter. If you put this station in a valuable parking spot right in the front of a busy mall in Christmas time, I know that someone might want to pay a little extra for the convenience of parking there, wouldn't you? Some people would, some people wouldn't. But I know how inefficient it is that I'm spinning around my gas-powered vehicle, spewing carbon into the air as I can't find a spot. And then finally when I get one, someone else gets it and cuts me off, and then there's rage and all sorts of interesting, you're number one and all this happening. I say we are going to eliminate that. And it is the vision of EVadvise and the groups we work with to have completely automated parking lots in the future. And it starts by having an economic benefit to having that first lot, and then it'll go to the next one and the next one so that multiple stalls will be deployed. What we're doing is we're building out this grid. And think about it. When was the last time we built infrastructure? Well, let's see. A long time ago, it was roads and highways, infrastructure. The words pave the way. We use those today. And then it was internet infrastructure. Maybe I'm missing one or two between there, I'm sure. But it's, it's fiber and copper. Okay, you were trenching things and building infrastructure. And then it's wireless, right? We're putting up big towers and over the wireless airways, building infrastructure. Well, guess what? We're going to build infrastructure again. Whenever you trench, it's a good sign. This is what America needs to do now. Okay? So when we start to trench and we build the grid and expand the grid into the parking lot, there's some problems with that. And there's some opportunity with that. And the problem is, oh my gosh, what if everybody decided to charge their cars at the peak rate in the summer at 3 p.m.? What would happen? Oh, we've got great opportunity there, which I'll touch upon later and remind me if I don't. But mostly what will happen is the grid will be updated. It will task the grid so that the smartest minds will realize it's a third-generation antiquated grid and it's highly inefficient. How do we make it more efficient? How do we put our brains behind it? And we will just task that grid. Because the important thing is we're all building infrastructure out there. And then where the rubber meets the wireless, some phenomenal things are going to happen. So what phenomenal things can happen? I talked about electrons being fungible. I know that some of you heard that keynote and said, what the heck does that mean? Really, what is that? And there's others who have sort of, done some financing recognize that once something can be converted into a currency, then it has tremendous upside potential. And frankly, gas can't really be converted into currency because it's sort of a flow that happens one way, They drill it overseas, OPEC nations. We buy 60% of it from them. We print money and trade weapons for this thing we so desire. Our value of the dollar goes down. There's no bilateral trade here, folks, like we do with China. They make good equipment. We trade freely with them. This is a one-sided deal, folks. Pure transfer of U.S. wealth. Period. So the dealers of oil, friendly or not friendly, OPEC or, this is something we can't control. George Schultz said it well. How many times do we have to get hit over the head with a 2x4 before we realize this? So I'm saying convert these electrons for cash. Because when things get economically driven, things get very exciting, and then we start to wake up. So there's some great examples and business models associated with these electric vehicle charging stations out there that go well beyond, I've got to fill up my tank. Then you can resell the equipment. There's money to be made in the reselling of the equipment. As the commodity pricing of this equipment comes down, then the opportunities to deliver it become cost effective with or without government grants. And there's money to be made. It's like the old computer industry. Go make some money on these things. They're pretty hot. But what's interesting is once you get those deployed, you see, electric vehicle charging stations are not just about current and grid, although that's critical. They're also about a connection point to the internet, the wireless internet. and people from Facebook exist there, and Groupon exists there, and Amazon exists there, and Nike, and Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson, and Google, and Netflix, and think about those possibilities now. Big economy. And so as we're building infrastructure, by the way, this is courtesy of Coulomb Technologies, which is by far the most innovative company. These guys are former networking guys. They're former wireless guys. It's kind of easy to put current in this way. It's a lot more challenging to get the software and the network correct with all the network security so that you can transact safely. And that's what these guys are focused in. But kudos to all the companies involved. Better Place for putting together similar networks, as well as flipping the whole model on its ear about subscription services and how you can buy gasoline, if you will, the new gas, just like you do your cellular telephone, and how you can change the way the taxi cabs will be in the future for our kids. And certainly GE with its fantastic design and its sort of innovation and frankly the deep pockets, and companies like Schneider Electric who have a pervasive distribution channel and adds value there. And Clipper Creek, who are the innovators who did this stuff 10, 15 years ago and are still in it in the game. And AeroVironment, which started in unmanned aerial vehicles and had expertise in battery technologies that helped survey the land and save lives. And they're applying their technology to electric vehicles directly. So where infrastructure gets built in the base level, well, guess what, folks? Because those things talk to the wireless and bring in the grid capability, some amazing things could happen at the driver, and really cool people who like to text and download and do Facebook and Twitter, who buy stuff, who buy a lot of stuff, buy these vehicles. And for the people who buy a lot of stuff and buy these vehicles, they're hanging out at your charging station and hooked up to the wireless. What can you do with that group? Well, considering most early adopters of electric vehicles are technology enthusiasts, highly educated, relatively high IQ for these people. You all see it. There's a good reason to buy those things. A fairly affluent bunch, since they're educated. Now you've got, well, let's see, the demographic. Educated men, educated women. What can you do with that? It's all going to happen. But it has to happen at a rate where you can build electric vehicle infrastructure and make a real difference in the next battle using this deployed strategy. So with that, we're just going to summarize here. I want to thank you for the time and making it here to the end. And really, people talk about, I think there was a recent article about the tipping point at $5. I'm sorry, I haven't read the analysis. The tipping point is long before $5, folks. It'll be $5 before someone makes a decision to buy an electric vehicle. No. As soon as people begin to realize through outreaches like this and on the web, they'll realize that it's so classic that we'll go to $5. Everybody will think about an electric vehicle. Our economy will be hurt by that $5, especially when we're coming off a pretty strong Q4, when Obama was there with the State of the Union saying, and the market's roaring back. Well, we do not want that market to quell again, that stock market. So we'd say, okay, it'll hit $5, we'll all want to go get electric vehicles, and then what do you think is going to happen? You guys know this. Oh, nobody's going to drive anymore. Price of gas comes down to $4.50. Oh, whew, we're so happy. Price of gas is $4.50 now. Whew, thank God it's not $5. Oh, we're okay, honey. We're okay, kids. You could still go to college, maybe. So I know that we need a real strategy. We don't just want to catch up. If you look at $2.50 a gallon. Look at 25 miles per the gallon of a car. Okay, pretty reasonable. At $2.50 a gallon and have a 25 mile per gallon vehicle, I could drive X. Okay, with me? Price of gas goes to $3.50 a gallon. Oof, $1. I don't want to let you know how much $1 increase in the cost of gas causes a sucking out of the economy right from the American public. We've got the numbers in the tens and hundreds of billions. But let's get back to the point. So now you have 35 miles per gallon, $3.50 price of gas, right? So you're kind of staying level. Then you go to $4.50 for the price of gas. Well, that's 45 miles per gallon. Hey, the Prius hybrid does that. It's a wonderful vehicle. By the way, it has the highest resale rate, and it gets you in and out of high productivity land up and down the HOV lane, HOV lane, access. Pretty good. But you're kind of still staying at the same relative value, aren't you? Well, what happens when the price goes to $5.50 a gallon? And the vehicles out there are still just hybrid vehicles that'll get you 50. Well, you need a 55 mile per gallon vehicle just to stay afloat, just to stay where you were when the price of gas was $2.50 and you drove a 25 mile per gallon vehicle. And you know what, folks? Today, I bet if I took a cross section, I have a 22 mile per gallon vehicle that I have to drive today. And within a very short time, the price of gas is clobbering us. So you need a real strategy, one that is 3 steps ahead of oil and the price of gas, so that the fluctuation happens and we don't care. The Chevy Volt, for people who drove it for 2,000 miles, they have this really cool telematic dashboard. It says 68 miles per gallon they've averaged over 2,000 miles on a bad day. 68, those are some numbers to be proud of. That's, twice as much as, 30, whatever. And you look at the peaks, and by the way, once you begin to drive electric vehicles, you realize you play these great mental games with yourself to get the most out of the electricity. Peaks of over 120 miles per gallon. Those are some real numbers. Now I could push back the oil companies, okay, with that strategy. That's a serious hammer. Multiply that by 100 times in 4 years, 100 different vehicles out there. All of you guys buying them because you deployed the electrical charging infrastructure. Now that's a strategy. Now what happens? Price of gas goes from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2. We still need gas. We still need oil, okay? But now we're in control, okay? We can't quite get an electric jet yet, okay? So I would suggest that we look at a real strategy for the deployment, go electric vehicle, don't ever be complacent with $5 tipping points or $4 tipping points or $3 tipping points for that matter. Join in, deploy, be successful, win the war, make this country the best place the way it used to be in some way, because it has changed, reduce our dependency on foreign oil, clean up the climate as a byproduct of doing this. You don't even have to have the argument, and be successful, because ultimately, it's a cliche, but our kids deserve it, people on this planet deserve it, and our kids' kids deserve it. So with that, I want to thank you for the time. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to let you guys know about what's available. You can go to our website at EVadvise and get more information, and I'm fully accessible. Thank you very much.